Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of the Executive Exchange. It's what we hope will become a monthly feature where we catch up with the Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, that's Councillor Gary van Niekerk. My name's Daron Mann. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your time. Happy 2024. I hope it's a great year for you personally and also for residents of the city.
Thank you very much for having me, Daron. Happy New Year. May it be a prosperous one for all of us, including all the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay. And yes, big year ahead, being the start of the year. We've done some planning, but we'll expand on that later during the interview.
Before we do have a look at what's planned for 2024, Mayor, a glance back at 2023. You were Mayor for 7 months of that year. Sum the experience up for us in a couple of words, if you can.
Number one, it was a learning curve. It was interesting and it was exciting. I had to learn, do some on the job learning, but I enjoyed it very much. I had a couple of challenges. I'm a relatively new councillor, as everybody would know, but I rolled with the punches. The opposition obviously did a very good job. The one part I'm still trying to understand is from when it comes to politics, is that the opposition preventing us from trying to deliver services to our people. But yes, those kind of challenges I'll be able to cope better this year, having had the experience of 2023. But yes, we do have some good news that we had in 2023. The biggest one for me was obviously the rain. Our drought is over. We were very close to day zero. We had some plans in place, but at the same time, although our drought is over, I want to encourage all our residents to still use water sparingly.
Your critics will say that the fact that the drought's over wasn't because of anything that you personally did.
Yes, obviously they will say that, but it was us that had to manage, that we managed the water, the reserves we had. We had to manage it up until the rains came, and I thank everybody for playing their part, the residents, for those who prayed for the rain. Every little bit helped. In terms of services delivered, yes, we could have done better. We want to deliver services to the people. As the metro, as a municipality, we want to deliver services to the people. And that is why over the last 2 weeks, myself and the acting city manager have been working non-stop in terms of our planning for 2024, sorry. 2023, if you look at the biggest challenges we've had, we know that load shedding is a national issue, but we also had issues regarding potholes. We had issues regarding public health being the neatness of the city. We know we need to clean up the city, but everybody really wants to assist, and that is where we're going to get the real success from, is from the collaboration between ourselves and our residents of Nelson Mandela Bay.
Let's take a look at some of the other challenges that you faced during 2023, if you don't mind. We did, from the distance of headlines, pick up that there was tension between the office of the Executive Mayor and that of the City Manager for many months. We ended up with the City Manager being suspended. We then had an acting City Manager who lasted a month or two and then resigned, and now we have another acting City Manager. Talk us through what happened there. What were the tensions at play?
Look, I said it in the media in January already, before I even became the executive mayor. I said that I don't want to get involved in any of these squabbles. I then became the executive mayor, and then when it came to us getting our grants from national government, we were then told by the Minister of Finance that we cannot have a city manager that's in charge of the purse of the city. And I then flew up with the city manager and with the deputy mayor as well, and the chief financial officer. We went up, engaged the minister of finance, and he made it very clear in no uncertain terms. He said to us that there's no way that the city manager being out on bail,
that was the issue.
Yeah, on very serious charges, which was corruption, and money laundering, and it's a host of charges. And she was out on bail. And he said that it just can't be. It's not. His exact words was, it doesn't look good on the eye. The optics are not good. That's what he said. And he said, if you guys do not take disciplinary action against the city manager, that being Dr. Ngwazi, then unfortunately you won't release the funding. I then came back. I spoke to my coalition partners. I then had to draft an item that I took to council, and after 1 or 2 meetings, eventually council decided by a majority vote that the city manager, Dr. Ngwazi, should be suspended. We then appointed an acting city manager who was there for like 3 or 4 months. That was Chris Janke. He was there, and just before Christmas he said he feels that he's done enough. It's now somebody else that should take the wheel, while we still sorting out the issue.
That is an unusually short tenure in charge as acting city manager. He wanted to go back to a previous role, if I recall the newspaper reports.
Yes, he is the chief operating officer. So he said that is where he wants to be. Look, the position of a city manager is it's a hectic position. You have the whole administration to take care of, and he felt that he's taken us that far, and so it was now somebody else's turn to take over the wheel. And I thanked him for that. And yes, I've now been working with the Mr. Mandela, who's the ED of electricity and energy, and yes, we've had a 3-hour meeting yesterday. Unfortunately, I was so busy this morning. We're supposed to meet this morning again, but we will be meeting regularly in order to put plans in place for this year. We've got the adjustments budget coming up, and we need to do our planning and then align our plan with the budget as well, our adjustments budget, to ensure that we are able to deliver in terms of what our plans are.
Mayor, if I could throw in a curveball here, there seems to be a perception, particularly amongst residents, let's say in the western suburbs of the city, that your focus is very much on the northern areas. You initially came on with that as your mandate when you came on as mayor. What would you say to residents who feel that you're focusing too much on the northern areas and that they're being neglected?
I have a very simple answer to that. When I came on board, I said that I am part of a coalition government, and the mandate of our government is that we are pro-poor government. I was never pro-northern areas. I am from the northern areas, so it's pro-northern areas, pro-townships, pro-Unix poorer areas, KwaNobuhle, but those are the areas that have been marginalized and neglected. It's where we live, and I cannot live with myself knowing what I see on a daily basis out there. But I've been visiting the Summerstrains, the western suburbs. I just come from the Bushy Park area as well. We have listened to the complaints of those residents. I've been working closely with the residents of Summerstrand now over the last festive period to make sure that our visitors, when they got here, that the city is indeed a clean city, and that people could actually have fun and they come back next year. And that's a plan as well, that we need to draw up a calendar so that when our festive season comes in December, we're able to put on a show for our visitors, so that they can come back and go and tell those in their cities what a great place this is to come and have a holiday.
Change. Our guest in studio, the Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, Councillor Gary van Niekerk. Towards the end of 2023, Mr. Mayor, a few controversial issues raised their heads and got a lot of publicity in the local media. I'd love to hear your direct response to them. I guess the first one was the infamous pothole promise, where you suggested that during the course of 3 weeks leading up to Christmas, it might be possible for us to fix as many as 14,000 potholes in the city. Good. In the end, we didn't get there, but you still weren't too unhappy with the number that was achieved.
Yes. Let me just explain that one quickly, Daron. Before I make any of these announcements, I always consult the ED of that relative, the that relevant directorate, as well as the MMC, which I did in this case. I called in both of them, and I told him, listen, we see the media reports regarding the potholes in the metro. Surely we can do something about this. They said, yes, if we really put all our efforts into it, we can make a significant dent. And I told them we can expect to be criticized for this lofty promise or wish. But then when we started off, everybody, we were all in agreement, and then the following day we went out, and we were out about in the streets. We were painting the roads, we were fixing potholes, going out with officials and so forth. And then in council, all of a sudden the MMC came back and said, no, he distances himself from this promise of the potholes being fixed.
Had he been in agreement with you the day before?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Him and the EDA as well. And that to me was it was a sad day to hear that somebody goes back on their word in that way. And he's a coalition partner of ours as well. So I don't know what happened, but I've seen some things on or heard about it on social media where his superiors have come out strongly against the plan as well. But let me get back to the numbers issue. It was reported that there were 14,000 around about the 6th of December. They were busy for like 2 or 3 weeks with those potholes, and they managed to fix like close to 5,000 of those potholes, with 9,000 remaining. So the positive for me is that it just shows if you aim for the stars, you can hit the moon. And we've got 9,000 potholes left, and if we continue in that vein with a concerted effort from everybody in the municipality, and we can actually fix all these potholes if we carry on in that vein. By the end of February, March, we shouldn't have any potholes left, or let me rather put it this way, the backlog of potholes should be done away with. And that was really the idea. So it can be done, and I think that is the kind of thinking we should have in this metro. We think small, we think we can fix 100 or 200 potholes in a month. No, we can actually fix thousands of potholes in a month, and that's the way we're going to rid the city of potholes eventually.
Now, the other story which received a lot of publicity, your trip to China, and the fact that I think it was a four-legged trip that took you to China. 4 legs brought you back, if I remember correctly. And one of those legs, people are very upset that it was the mayor was flying first class, and it cost 134,000. I'm making up that number from memory, but you understand why people were upset. Would you like to address that and tell us what happened?
Yes, Daron, there's nothing to hide from my side when it comes to that. I'm the executive mayor of the metro. I don't get involved with booking hotels, taxis, flights. I don't do any of that. I get told, Executive Mayor, you need to be at a certain place at a certain time. Please avail yourself. I then clear my diary. When we were supposed to leave on the 8th, that morning we were still uncertain whether we were going to fly or not. And by the time I got to the airport, yes, our tickets were there to fly economy class from Nelson Mandela Bay, from Port Elizabeth Airport to OR Tambo, and that was an economy class flight. We were supposed to be a very big entourage that was invited to Junction, but unfortunately only 3 of us eventually went. We got to OR Tambo, and we were told there are no tickets further for us to go anyway. We sat around at the airport for like 2, 3, 4 hours, and eventually when the agent was ready with our tickets, when we got to the front of the queue, we were told that no, we had to be, we should have boarded the flight like 2 hours ago already. What
was the hold-up? Why were all the tickets not planned in advance?
That's a very good question, Daron. There was an issue with our account. The travel agent was saying that we haven't paid our account. I then told the city manager before the council meeting the previous day already that this is the issue, because I wanted to know I need to plan my day the following day. Am I flying out to China or not? And we were told by the travel agent that it hasn't been paid. So it was a whole back and forth. We were in limbo. Like I said, I don't get involved in these things. All I ask my support staff is, am I going or not? They said they're still busy fixing the travel agent account. But like I said, when I got to Port Elizabeth Airport at around about 12 o'clock, we flew to Johannesburg, got there about 2, sat around there till about 6, and eventually we were told there's no flights available to Dubai, because it's like you said, it's a 4-legged flight that way to Junction. It's Port Elizabeth Airport or Daron Mann Airport to OR Tambo to Shanghai, from Shanghai, OR Tambo, Dubai, Dubai, and then Dubai, Shanghai, Junction. So that's the 4 legs. So we were going to fly economy class right through to Junction, but unfortunately, because we missed that flight from OR Tambo to Dubai, and we needed to be in.
You've got a deadline you've got to meet.
Yeah. We had a deadline to meet. We needed to be in Junction on Sunday evening to sleep, rest, and then be available to start working at 8 the following morning. And they scrolled the internet to see where, or the travel agent tried to get a flight for us, the only available flight. And that is what we were told. There's only one flight available. I didn't even know about this. I found this out afterwards while we were boarding, going to board. When I saw my ticket, it said first class on it. And then they said, this is the only way you're going to get there on time. So we managed to get, we slept over in Johannesburg, got onto the flight the following morning. That's an 8-hour flight to Dubai, 8 to 10 hour flight to Dubai. That was the first class flight. Got to Dubai. From there onwards, we had another 12-hour flight to Shanghai. That flight was an economy class flight, and from Shanghai another 3-hour flight to Junction, and that was also an economy class flight. So it was never the plan to fly first class right around. It was only the 1 leg out of the 8 legs of the whole trip that was a first class. But certainly, I'm sure everybody has now learned their lesson, and that is why myself and the city manager, the acting city manager, are working closely together to make sure, and it was reported in the media previously, that our accounts need to be paid, our suppliers need to be paid on time, so that these kind of things don't happen. It costs us money, it costs the metro money, it costs the residents money, it's taxpayers' money, and I'm very much aware of the fact that it's taxpayers' money. But I will never be the one that forces anybody to put me on a first-class flight anyway. And I must also add that we brought back tangible benefits for this city. The FAW will now be building 2 vehicles. There will be 2 lines here where they'll be building vehicles, which will create hundreds of jobs in this metro. We also secured people on Monday. There'll be another 20 odd people working, more people working at FAW. We spoke. There'll be an expo that we have been invited to come in. They specifically wanted the mower industry to come over, but anybody else that wants to come. There's 100,000 people coming to that expo per day in Junction. It's a 10-day event, and so 1 million people will see our mower being exposed to the world. So yes, there's a lot that we brought back as well.
During the course of your 7 months, there would have been a few others that you've been able to secure. We haven't really touched on those. Can you highlight a few?
Yes, I know there's another motor company coming. It's Stellantis. They've also brought a couple of billion into the metro.
Billion?
A couple of billion, yes. And the total investments over the last year, I think it was close to 120 billion in total. We've got Hive as well, Hive Energy, Green Energy. So there's quite a couple of big things happening in this in the metro economically. We know that unemployment in this metro is an issue, but with all these investments coming in, and that is why we need to make this metro attractive to foreign investment, and that's why these trips that we have going overseas. I know there's at least 2 or 3 other cities around the world, a couple here on the African continent, that want to sign twinning agreements with us. I know there's a city in Germany that wants to sign a twinning agreement with us. The city of Ningbo wants to renew that as well. I also had South Korea coming to us last year. The ambassador was here. He wanted us to come over and want myself and the Premier to visit their country to see how we can foster better relations and discuss investments within our metro.
I'd like to talk more about the initiatives and projects that have been planned for 2024. But just before we get there, towards the end of last year, Christmas weekend, New Year's weekend, there was a lot of publicity about the state of our beachfront, Nelson Mandela Bay. It did seem as if incidents of vandalism and littering seemed to be worse than it had been in previous years. Subsequently, I've heard from the neighborhood watch in the area that matters improved remarkably. But just your reflections and comments on that.
Thank you for that balanced question, Daron. I really appreciate it. Yes, we had 1 or 2 complaints. It was in the front page of the local newspaper, and we immediately addressed it via our public health directorate. And the reports that I've received from different organizations like the neighborhood watches of your summer strands and so forth, it was quite encouraging to hear that people were quite happy with the state of our beaches over the festive period. And there was the highlight to me was that we never had any horrific stories that was plastered all over the front pages of the newspapers. So yes, overall it was a good festive season. The reports that I've seen in the media as well is that all our hotels and so forth are happy with how many beds were booked over the festive period.
We are going to share a message that we've received from the neighbourhood watch in Summer Strand regarding the state of the beaches and the compliments that they got from visitors as a result, just so that there is the balance that you've requested. But Mr. Mayor, it did seem as if this year the litter and the vandalism was worse than in years gone by. It's a societal issue. It's something that we're all responsible for. But have you been able to put your finger on why we are struggling with that so much and so badly?
Most definitely, Daron. Daron, the thing with vandalism is that you need a better security system. We passed a resolution in council that we actually made another 15 million rand available firstly in July, 10 million rand for capital expenditure, another 5 million rand for operational expenditure. That's a total of 15 million rand that we have. We haven't done anything with that yet, and that's one of the instructions that I've given to the city manager, the acting city manager, yesterday in our meeting, that please, we need to look at this. The money is laying there, the money is unspent, but in the meantime, our assets, the municipal assets, are being vandalized. We also have almost 50 million rands worth of equipment just sitting in a couple of containers at our fire station, for example, and I'm told that that equipment is still usable. So we need to
security equipment.
Correct, yes, 100% correct. So for me, the goal is, and this is again one of my wishes that I have, is that per square kilometer, I want our city to have the most cameras in South Africa. Our city is not that big, our metro is not that big, so certainly we can do it, but we will be investing a lot in the safety and security of this metro over the next year or two.
Okay, let's get to 2024 and the projects and the initiatives that have already been confirmed, that have been passed, that have been approved. What can the residents and citizens look forward to?
look, we're busy with the planning part of it now, Darren. If you look at the different service delivery directorates, you're looking at public health, you're looking at safety and security, you're looking at infrastructure and engineering. In each of those, roads and transport, in each of those, there's burning issues. Water leaks, for example, we managed to clear the backlog of all the water leaks, so nobody's complaining about that anymore. The drought is now something of the past. We see that we can make inroads in terms of the potholes, as I mentioned earlier. We can make inroads over there. It's now the issue, like you mentioned now earlier, it's the vandalism issue. We want all our traffic lights to work. We want our roads painted as well. We want our drains clean so that when we do get to June, when it's our rainy season again, we want to make sure that our drains are clean, our stormwater drains are clean. And once we need to keep our fingers on these issues at all times. We need the most important thing that needs to happen, and that is why our city looks the way it does, is that we need to hold people accountable. And that is my message that came across very strongly this yesterday in our meeting with the acting city manager, is please hold each and every official over who he supervises to account. Make sure we have regular meetings, so we're going to have regular updates. And I'll be updating people, hopefully using this platform as well, to tell people where we have improved, where we're still facing challenges, where we can collaborate with the community, with the residents, to ensure that services are indeed delivered, that the city is cleaner, and that the stupid acts of vandalism can stop.
During your time as executive mayor, what's been your biggest surprise? Things that you didn't expect about the job that you've had to deal with. Has it been in terms of the administration, processes and procedures around that? Has it been with the way in which the public deal with you, or possibly the way that the media deal with you, or all of the above?
All of the above, most certainly. That was going to be my answer. You took the words right out of my mouth. Regarding, let's take social media, for example, how people perceive you. And my own perception is that I'm working my behind off to make sure I'm there early in the morning. I'm running around, having meetings, going out into the communities, making sure that I actually go out there, be visible. And I literally work from about 7 in the morning that I get to the office till about 7, 8 at night, and yet it's still not good enough. The thing that really gets to me, Darren, is there's definitely a sense of sabotage within the municipality, and that is, to me, that's criminal, and that is why it's important that we investigate these acts of sabotage. Electricity outages, we've seen electricity outages over the last couple of months that we've never seen before, and the community rightly asks in the newspapers, in social media, on social media, why is it that all of a sudden, just after I became the executive mayor, these things started happening? So that to me was a huge surprise. The cooperation between us as politicians and officials. One of the weirdest things I found, Darren, I had a meeting with, and this is some behind the scenes stuff. I had a meeting with all the executive directors, and the executive directors were telling me about the challenges that they face. Yeah, we're blaming the executive directors, and the executive directors are telling us that, but it's our own accountants in budget and treasury, for example, that's now trying to tell them how to run their departments, and that to me was the most surprising thing.
Before the break, Mr. Mayor, you were telling us about some of the challenges that the various departments in your administration were facing from people within their own departments. Do you want to expand a little on that?
I think the best example to illustrate that issue is the trip to China. It was exactly that. It's our accountants not doing their job in terms of paying this account, reconciling the account. And that led to this whole debacle unfolding. But that's literally on a small scale. Now you go to service delivery issues, the potholes, the cleaning of the city, the cameras, the safety of residents, all those things. That every directorate, I had all the EDs in a meeting, and each and every directorate was at pains to explain how they're being hampered by the accountants in budget and treasury. But it's something that we're working on. I have requested a meeting with the city manager, with the CFO, and even with the accountants as well. Some will say it's overreach. Others say, we say as politicians, my job is to provide oversight. I'm the head of the municipality, and I will provide that kind of oversight. We need to hold people accountable. It's because of people not being held accountable that our cities in the state that it is.
But talk to me a little bit about that. How does the process work? Because I think most ratepayers say, you are the mayor, you issue an order, everyone just has to follow it. Is that not how it works?
It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. That's a very dictatorial kind of way. But I would have liked that kind of power where I said, go and fix that.
So what does work? I mean, how is it that officials can not carry out your instructions?
Daron, that's a very, very good question once again. The problem you have is that you have officials that want to play in a political space. And once you have that lines being blurred, that is where you hear the fights happening. It's this official versus this politician. But it's something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed urgently.
Can it be resolved?
Of course it can be, and that is why you need a city manager. Currently we have an acting city manager who doesn't get involved in the politics of the metro, of this administration. Leave that to us, as we'll sort it out in council. You've seen what it looks like in council. You do, according to you carry out the mandate that we've been given by the people of the metro when they go and cast their votes. So yes, it is a big problem with officials trying to play in a political space, and they favor a certain political party, not wanting to see services delivered. And this is where politics becomes a dirty game, Daron. It's really ugly, and it's something that should never happen. We at the coalface of service delivery. This is where what do they say, the rubber meets the tar. Why, for my own success, if the thinking is that if it doesn't happen because of me, then there must be no service delivery. So I can never be part of such a thing. You'll never see me in council, whether I'm in government, out of government, where I say, just because it's not me that's part of the governing coalition, services will not be delivered. And that is the thing where people need to start thinking critical, Daron. It's a very difficult situation that people are critical of me, who's trying my best to deliver services, and there's others who's trying to stop me from delivering services to them. And that's the truth, and that is what I appreciate about this this whole conversation between myself and you, is that the truth needs to come out. And as we go on in terms of our interviews going forward, I'll be able to give you more examples, and we'll be able to track it better. I actually want us, as part of this engagement, is to show people via graphs, stats, and so forth, to show them this is what we're able to do, this is our spending, this is our investments coming in, this is what we were able to fix, this is what we were able to build. That's the one thing that I learned from on my trip to China. The thing that you hear when you talk to them, it's about building. That's all they talk about, is building. And the one thing that's also lacking that I found in this metro is that we don't have a 5-year plan. And that's the thing that we are definitely working on. I mean, I discussed it with the city manager yesterday, that we do need a 5-year plan going forward.
What are your thoughts on how the media has treated you and your administration? Do you feel they've been a little harsh? Do you feel they've been fair? they've got a job to do as well. But I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Look, Darren, the media's got a job to do. We all know that bad news sells better than good news. I think that the media could have been a little bit more fair, considering that I'm there for 7 months. For example, the spending up until the middle of May, the spending was somewhere near to 50%. In the last month that I was there in June, I increased it to closer to 80%. That's just in 1 month. But those things don't get reported on. If maybe it's our communications department that we need to do a better job, that needs to do a better job. But yes, we certainly can. The media has an important role to play when it comes to portraying what the city has to offer out there. We cannot only be plastering our front pages with bad news all the time. There's some very good stories to tell about this metro. When I'm in a fortunate position that I'm able to visit all parts of the metro. The Kucha industrial zone is such a good example of what we're able to achieve. We the only city on the African continent, one of a few cities in the world that has 2 ports, for example. When we spoke to China, the people of China said they will now move most of their business away from Durban's port to the Kucha and port of Port Elizabeth as well. That was another benefit that I forgot to mention earlier, that will be happening. They want more land. They want to come and invest in the city, and you'll see the benefits that you'll come May when they come and visit our shores.
Talk to me a little about coalition politics. 2024 is a year of national elections in South Africa, and people are discussing the possibility of coalitions governing, not just on a national level, but at provincial levels. We've had a lot of experience of coalition politics locally. It hasn't always been good. How's your coalition holding up at the moment?
Now, our coalition is very stable, and that is what people don't talk about. We do have a very stable coalition. We've got 63 members in our coalition. The coalition is the ANC, it's the EFF, it's the National Alliance, it's the AIC, it's PA and the PAC, and together we're 63. We've seen some rumblings in social media of late, where I've been criticized by one of the coalition partners. But I speak to the president of that party, and we will be engaging each other within the next couple of days to talk about what's been said about. It's mainly concerning this the China trip once again. But that's politics. Some people feel that they can be opportunistic in terms of criticizing us or criticizing myself, and that kind of things one can expect in a coalition. It's not always going to be hunky-dory in terms of a coalition. People still want to advance their own political party. But yes, the coalition is very, very stable. There'll always be motions coming in. But as you've seen over the last 7 months, I don't know, I think there's like 3 or 4 motions already. Not one was successful. We expect another 3 or 4 before the end of June, before the national elections come. But the coalition is stable. The ANC is happy. EFF is happy. PA is happy.
Well, no marriage is without its arguments, is it?
Of course. But the way that the coalition is put together, Darren, and how I, as the executive mayor, I'm a very consultative leader. I don't just do things on my own, and that is why you won't hear things in the media from all these other parties. Nobody's really complaining. It was only this one incident of this China trip where one individual has taken it upon himself to criticize me.
Time is running out. There are a few points I would still like to touch on, please, Mr. Mayor, if I might. The first one, and I think I speak on behalf of many citizens, we don't know what goes on inside council meetings, but from time to time, we get a glimpse of a council meeting and it just seems incredibly chaotic and disorderly. We're inclined to think that we've got 120 of our brightest and our best citizens representing our interests in council. But then we see images of people trading insults, throwing papers at each other. It just looks a bit like a school ground. Going back a few years, we've even had incidents of one councillor assaulting another with a glass jug. I think there were, at one stage, there were a couple of shots fired in council, well before your time. But you know what I'm getting at? We just get this impression that it's all chaotic in there, and we're expecting something a lot more civil and constructive. What goes on?
Daron, that to me is something, like I said, this is my first stint in council, 2021, November 2021. This is certainly not what I expected when I got into council. I always try to behave, for my behavior to be exemplary. And I thought everybody else will be the same. But you are 100% correct when you say that it looks a lot like a school ground. The insults being hurled. It's a lot of playing to the gallery, acting for the gallery. I will never make myself guilty of that. I've been the speaker previously, where I actually looked at it all play out in front of myself. And I don't know how the public views it as such. But I'm embarrassed when I see the behavior of some of the councillors. Look, it's not all of the councillors, it's some of them that's repeatedly misbehaving in council. And I think it's an indictment on their character. I will never ever behave in that way. The way I'm speaking to you now is the way I speak in council. I've never shouted in council, and I will never shout in council. I'll refuse to embarrass my support base. I refuse to embarrass the people that support me, family members and so forth. It's just not my thing to behave that way. And we always talk about the decorum of the house, and my thing is that I said in council when I was still the speaker was that the decorum of the house is the collective responsibility of everybody in council. The childish nature of certain individuals, I can't answer for that, and it's grown-ups, it's adults. I'm also flabbergasted. Don't ask me to explain that one to you.
Let's move on to something a little more positive. We mentioned investments and projects that are planned for 2024. We didn't touch on events yet. Anything special happening during the course of the coming year?
Yes, if you look back on last year, we didn't have many events in this metro. We're still recovering from the whole COVID issue. People don't like to talk about the whole COVID issue. It's like it's supposed to be many years ago. The one thing that was good in this metro is that we had quite a number of cricket matches. The one disappointing thing was that the trophy tour, the World Cup Rugby trophy tour, didn't happen. The other thing that I was bitterly disappointed with was that we didn't have an opening of the season, and we didn't have a New Year's countdown. So the plan that we've put in place is that I'm going to sit down with sports, recreation, arts and culture, and we need to put together a calendar. One of the highlights for me certainly was the Richmond Hill Festival, the French street festival thing. I was there personally. It was really brilliant, and I thought we have it once a year. Now I've been to other cities, I visit many other cities, and it almost happens on a weekly basis. If you go to Cape Town, for example, if you go to Long Street, and you see how clean it is, how many municipal securities there are, and how they constantly cleaning. The police are constantly driving up and down. So one of the things that I'd like to see happen in this metro is that we do have an opening of the season this coming year. We do have a countdown at the end of the year. That Richmond Hill Festival, we have it once a quarter, like once every 3 months. If we could have something like that going, just to invite more visitors into our city. That doesn't have to be visitors from very far. People from East London, Humansdorp, Grahamstown, they came and they enjoyed that festival so much. I enjoyed it. I was there for like 12 hours that day. But there's so much more we can do. We should start planning now in terms of the Springboks playing in 2025. There should be a Springbok match, a very good Springbok match at that. It should be something on the lines of South Africa versus the All Blacks, South Africa versus New Zealand, England, Wallabies. Those are the kinds of games that we want to see here at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. It's a very beautiful stadium. It was rated the #1 stadium during the FIFA World Cup in 2010. So we can host big events, but there's so much more that we can do as a city, as a metro, as this municipality. But it's going to require all of us to put shoulder to the wheel, both the residents as well as the officials of this metro, including the politicians as well. Let's be positive about it. We need to portray a positive image to the people that must come and visit our city and come and invest in our city.
Was there anything going on behind the scenes that we aren't aware of when it comes to the trophy tour, firstly, which missed Nelson Mandela Bay? They flew into our airport, fair enough, but there was no tour of our city. And then we were promised a big Springbok announcement by SA Rugby Union, and we thought it was going to be a big test match in 2024. As things stand, the only test match that hasn't been allocated a venue yet for the Springboks next season is the Springboks against Portugal. We're hoping it comes here because nothing else is coming here. But that's hardly a big test match against a tier 1 nation, which is what we kind of anticipated would happen when we were overlooked for the trophy tour. Was there any negotiation or liaison going on between the municipality and SA Rugby? And if so, what were the nature of those discussions?
I was in contact with the president of SARU. I was also in contact with many other officials. I got shifted from pillar to post by the officials of SARU regarding the tour. I really wanted to make it happen. We all, from the Chamber of Business, they also wrote letters. EP Rugby wrote letters. Everybody tried their utmost to get that trophy tour over here. If you look at how the trophy tour occurred in Johannesburg, in one day they were able to do Soweto, Johannesburg, as well as Pretoria. So it was always my argument that if they could do East London in the morning, they can do Nelson Mandela Bay in the afternoon for 3 or 4 hours. Even if you just came straight to the one venue, the stadium, for example, and just show off the stadium and bring all those players. The hype is gone now. It will be an anticlimax.
We've lost.
Yeah, we really lost the moment. But like I said, let's start planning. I'm all for reconciliation. I know there's some bad blood between EP Rugby Union and SARU, but let's get over it. If you look at that, the old adage that says that when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers, and that's what happened here. EP Rugby Union and SARU are fighting. Here, the little kids that want to see their heroes and lining the streets, welcoming into this beautiful city, this beautiful metro of ours. They were denied that, and sometimes we as adults get it wrong, and I think we got it wrong this time, Daron.
I'm going to ask you in the remaining 30 seconds to deliver a message straight to camera to the residents, ratepayers, citizens of Nelson Mandela Bay as we enter the year that is 2024, Mr. Mayor.
To the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay, I want to give you my personal reassurance that I will do my best together with my mayoral committee to ensure that services do get delivered to all of you, whether it's in the western suburbs, northern areas, townships, Utenade, Dispatch, all of you, Colchester, you are all on our radar. We are keeping tabs on everything that we promised, and we hope by every quarter, at least every 100 days, we are able to report back to all of you to say what progress we have made as a municipality. And please hold us accountable. Whatever we promised you, if we are coming short, please remind us, and we certainly will try to up our game within the next couple of months.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was the Executive Exchange with the Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, Gary van Niekerk. We look forward to catching up with you next month. If you, dear listener and dear viewer, have a question you'd like us to pose to the Mayor on your behalf, do leave that on our Facebook page. Mpuma Kapa TV, the Facebook page. Go find it, leave your question for the Mayor there, and hopefully we'll get to that next time you join us on the Executive Exchange. Until then, take care.